Welcome back, Knuckleheads. I'm Lupine Fiasco. This is your daily Fab gameplay, and today I'm here to give you a tournament report for ProQuest Season 5, Week 1. I played at Forgotten Path Games in Vacaville, California, and I came in 11th out of 39 players with a record of 4-2. We're going to talk about my actual match results, what I think I did right and wrong in just a bit. But first, let me give you a bit of a breakdown of our meta. You can see the breakdown of heroes on the screen now. Prism representing the most played hero with 6 Prism players, all the way down to a series of 5 heroes that were all one-ofs: Rhinar, Bravo, Katsu, Arachne, and Uzuri. The top 8 conversion looked like this. Top 8 was 1 Rhinar, 1 Azalea, 2 Kayos, 2 Prisms, 1 Kano, and 1 Dromai. Rhinar representing the top conversion with 100% conversion to top 8. Dromai with the lowest top 8 conversion of 20%. The winner of the entire event was Kayo, and in fact both Kayo players saw each other in the finals. The gold foil, just so you all know, was the very impressive, most playable card out of the entire pool. Really just an overperformer. Coat of Frost. Just peak performance. It was a great event. Forgotten Path Games is a really nice store. Not one that I make it out to very often. Vacaville is about 45 minutes from my place. And there are 3 closer stores, much closer stores to me, where I go for armor events. But for ProQuest season for RTNs, Vacaville is a newer Flesh and Blood location with a smaller player base, so I am glad that they are starting to get that tournament representation, that they're starting to get these events to host. And on a personal note, it's extremely convenient for me to drive 45 minutes for an event. This season, I have 3 events within 45 minutes of my house. My next event that I'll be going to is 20 minutes away, and the event that I'll be at the week after is a 5-minute walk. So for me, extremely convenient. And you reap the benefits of that as well, because I get more tournament reps to talk to you about and that inform the actual daily Fab gameplay. So getting into the event, my round 1 pairing was against Kassai. I was on Kayo for this event, with the same list that I've been on for the past week or so, and you'll be seeing a lot more of those games with the current list in the next couple of weeks. I don't expect anything in this list to change until Armory deck KO, and that will just be for ProQuest Week 4. But for the next 3 weeks, this is what I'll be playing. So, round 1 against Kassai. This was a loss. Overall, my impression is that I don't have enough experience into Kassai. I don't have any local Kassai players. I did have one who then switched over to Dorinthia when Hatchets became the more popular and I think more overall successful build. I have noticed some general dissent with Hatchet's Dory lately, that the deck is pretty straightforward, and I've noticed it's myself even. Dorinthia is very easy to read once you know what the game plan is and once you have enough reps into the deck. Once their turn starts, it's pretty simple to know what the rest of the turn looks like, so figuring out ideal blocks is not all that difficult, and I think I actually have a much better Dory matchup than I do Kassai. Part of that is the inexperience, but part of that is how Kassai functions as a hero, where drawing cards discounts the swords. So it is a lot harder to have a read on what Kassai can do and then what she's going to do. And the fact that she doesn't need to pitch to attack with swords on her more powerful turns means that the flesh bag blowout potential is a lot lower, and that was my experience in this game. I did win the die roll, and I chose to go second. I think that's correct, but it did end up biting me in the ass. My opening hand in this game was red Wild Ride, red Pulping, Blood Rush Bellow, and blue. So my opponent opens with a hot streak. I say no blocks, thinking that I don't want to get the hot streak go again, but they have the red Blade Runner for it. So hot streak gets go again, Saber comes in for 5. And I have a choice. I don't want to take 5. I would like to at least block with something. So the problem with blocking 5 with my blue 3 block is that the Saber gets pumped up to 6. I take 3 damage to go to 35, and I am now holding a hand of 2 reds and a Blood Rush Bellow. So I'm really dependent on drawing a blue off the top of my deck to even have a playable turn, and if I don't have a playable turn, if I draw a red, then I'm like pitching Blood Rush to attack with Wild Ride and kind of just hoping that my hand then draws the blue and then I get to keep the blue. So it seemed like I either put 2 cards in front of this Saber or no cards in front of the Saber. And going to 33 on turn 0 just felt absolutely wrong. So I blocked the Saber for 5 with my blue 3 block and my Blood Rush Bellow. The top card of my deck was a red, so at least in hindsight it felt like the right decision. But losing one of my power cards at the start of the game really set the tempo for the entire match. Later, about a third of the way through, I blocked a hot streak with a Cast Bones. My Kassai played Blade Flurry on the hot streak. So had I given the hot streak go again by blocking with an attack action, I would have been signing up to take at least 4 more damage, if not more. So blocking with the Cast Bones probably not the worst decision. Why did I block at all? Because I had a Bear Fangs in arsenal and a Wild Ride in hand. So it felt like getting the Cast Bones out of my hand was better than trying to do excessive blocking with my other 2/3 blocks and then IPing myself by keeping a Wild Ride after playing the Cast Bones, or trying to play really risky with a Wild Ride that hopefully, fingers crossed, doesn't discard the Cast Bones, or even rolling Scabs to try and Bear Fangs, not discard Cast Bones. So there were a few instances like that over the course of this game where the best option was to throw away one of my power cards on defense. Added on to the fact that Warrior just is a good matchup for Brute. Kayo, I strongly believe, is unfavored into Warrior generally. Dorinthia, I would say, is bumped up from a 40-60 to a 45-55 based on matchup knowledge, but again, Kassai is just, she's a different animal. I don't have the reps into it, and if I'm throwing away my power cards on defense, whether or not that's correct, it is setting me up for failure. And ultimately, I was outvalued by Kassai, so I go into the loser's bracket, being 0-1 heading into round 2 against Uzuri. This game was a win in my favor. I did lose the die roll and ended up going second. That is what I would have chosen had I won the die roll. My Uzuri said at the start of the match that they were inexperienced against Kayo. I don't know if that necessarily showed, because I am also inexperienced against Uzuri, so I'm not sure what they're supposed to look like. I can't identify where my Uzuri may have misplayed, if they misplayed at all. Come up here. So I'm not experienced with the matchup. I played mid-rangey, not really on purpose, just kind of how the game went, that my hands really lended themselves more to blocking than to attacking. And I kind of got lucky just based on that. I don't want to attribute it to skill or matchup knowledge, but more what felt right at the time, and I ended up being paid off for it. So, for example, I might decide to keep a card in Arsenal, Arsenal, a Wild Ride, or a Pulping, be able to block out a CNC or a Shakedown or Leave No Witnesses play with 3 cards from hand, keep a blue, and on my turn, Pulping for 6 go again, use Tunic and Mandible Claw. Or on the turn that I decide not to Arsenal something, that I say, you know what, this is decent offensive 4-card hand, let's send it. The response from my Uzuri is to attack with a Command and Conquer or leave no witnesses. Everything that Uzuri wants to do just didn't line up with what I had done, and that really worked in my favor, but there was no skill involved with that. Maybe there was, you could say, well, your innate knowledge of Kayo led you to making these decisions, but they weren't conscious, right? I don't have a wealth of Uzuri knowledge to say, well, I'm reading the signals, and I'm putting you on this, so I'm not going to arsenal the card. It just kind of worked out for me. We take those wins, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am an expert in the Uzuri matchup. But winning that game puts me into the 1-1 bracket. Still alive for top 8, certainly, but the pressure is really on me to continue winning. So round 3 pairs me into Prism, and winning is exactly what I did. Unlike Uzuri, I will sit here and tell you that I feel very confident with Kayo into either Illusionist, Dromai, or Prism. I feel very confident that I know what to do, that I know how to pilot my deck through what Illusionist is going to do, and outside of some pretty dramatic high rolls, neither Illusionist is going to take me by surprise or really be able to take tempo away from me unless my deck bricks, and my deck was very helpful in this game. And if anything, Prism's deck was the one that really needed to get its act together. I did lose the die roll and was put second. I would like to go first in the Prism matchup if possible, so that is a point to my opponent. But overall, I would say this win was a result of some very unfortunate draws from Prism. Very few auras cast over the duration of the game. We never once saw a Genesis until the end of the game when Prism needed to be able to block to not die, and Genesis has no block value. My opponent spends turn 1 hardcasting Figment of Erudition, which is not the worst Figment to hardcast, but certainly not what Prism wants to be doing on turn 1. So few auras, a series of clunky draws. The only Arclight Sentinel they saw over the course of the game came down more out of desperation than anything, a hand that really didn't do anything besides cast Arclight Sentinel. But there was nothing behind it. The ALS wasn't protecting anything. So on my end, I have no reason to roll scabs and put myself in a position to get blown out by a Gambler's Gloves that my opponent had equipped. I just pitch a blue, claw into ALS, discard a Mighty Windup to make 2 mites, and arsenal an attack. It sort of just reset the turn cycle for both of us, except I come out of it with 2 damage on board and an arsenal. I had a series of kind of subpar Blood Rush turns, but they were good enough. No 3-chain Blood Rushes, no insane Beast Within discard, Massacre for 10 go again. Just like, here's Claw Swing Big. It's 15. Are you going to block it at all? Prism's big Halo turn did nothing. And I had some early Swing Bigs in the matchup that fended off Red Herald of Triumph, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. That's exactly what I want Swing Big for in that matchup. So overall, I would not say that I played particularly well. I have experience in the matchup. I know what I should be doing in the matchup, but I think the win came more off of Prism having clunky draws than my Prism opponent getting outplayed or not knowing how to pilot their deck. I think they did know how to pilot the deck. I think the deck did not cooperate them. And I end up 2-1 heading into round 4 against a Kano. If you are familiar with Team Metal Fab tokens or my local scene, you know that I play regularly with Majin Bay, one of the best Kano players, period. I have a lot of reps against him. I am extremely confident in the Kano matchup. Outside of just getting experience against him, he has taught me lessons about the Kano matchup, what I should be looking for, what I should be expecting Kano to do based on the board state or what they've pitched or how they've blocked. And I know in particular that if I am being stacked by a Kano, if Kano is not playing their traditional combo style and more just pitch stacking to try and kill me in second cycle, then I know how to adjust my gameplay accordingly. This Kano did win the die roll and put me second. Second is where I want to be in this matchup, so I was a little confused on that, considering as well that my Kano presented Ragamuffin's hat as their head slot. Ragamuffins makes me think I am not going to be stacked. My understanding of Kano is if they are stacking, then they want Balance of Justice because it has better defensive value, it draws them through their stack faster, and once they hit their pitch stack, they don't need Rags to combo off. If they have set up their stack correctly, then they are just going to really Kano out their entire deck, throw a couple wildfires with a collection of energy potions, and then kill me with Blazing Aether for 200 damage. So I was faked out by the Ragamuffins. My opening hand had a Blood Rush Bellow, which I fired off because, again, I'm thinking this is traditional Kano, and I don't have time to set up good Blood Rushes. I just kind of draw what I'm presented. This 4-card Blood Rush ended up being kind of junky, so I open with Claw for 5 and my opponent Fate for Scenes from Arsenal, and I say, okay, well, I'm being stacked, so let's adjust the game plan, which ended up not working super well. I Arsenal the Blood Rush, thought, okay, I'm going to take a series of intellect penalties, we're going to set up a good Tunic, Agility, 5-card Blood Rush hand. I drew into a second Blood Rush, my third of the game, with a hand of red, red, blue. Thought, okay, let's fire off this 4-card Blood Rush. I have Tunic up, let's see what happens. Pitch the blue, play Blood Rush, discard a red, draw 2 more reds, play the second Blood Rush from Arsenal, discard a red, draw 2 more reds. Ultimately did quite a bit of damage, but a double Blood Rush turn for 2 chain links is really not where I want to be, just period. But especially in this matchup where I'm really racing against the clock. So through a series of good go-again draws, I had maybe 5 or 6 turns in a row where I had a Wild Ride or a Pulping to just send 3 links, 3 links, 3 links. I managed to pick up the win with a turn to spare. Kano sitting on 2 Fate for Scenes that were a draw away from keeping him alive long enough to find the pitch stack that started under the second Fate for Scene, which would have just killed me. And we were talking after the game, Majin Bey was there, so it was a conversation between the 3 of us, and my Kano opponent was saying that he is able to stack KO very consistently, that I'm the first KO he's lost to in a long time. Majin, of course, is saying, well, I trained him, and he knows how the deck works, and he knows what he should be doing. Why are you on Ragamuffins? And this Kano explained, well, Rag helps with the combo and helps find the stack faster, etc. Kassai walks away, and I look at Majin and say, if he had been on balance that game, he would have won, and that's absolutely true. I believe I was somewhere between 1 and 3 damage over the top of what Kano could block, and if on any of those turns he blocks with balance for 2, then draws a card, he finds his Fate for Scene fast enough to be able to block with it, live through my attack that ended up killing him, then draw into the top of his stack and Fate for Scene, and that kills me. I really do think, based on Majin's advice, you should not, for Kano players, you should not be trying to stack KOs. And if you are trying to stack KOs, you should be on Balance of Justice. It really is just that necessary for digging through your deck and finding the stack, but I digress. This puts me into the 3-1 bracket. Heading into round 5, I find myself in a KO mirror against the same KO that beat me in the finals of RTN Week 2 to take the Gold Foil Snapdragons. Tommy is a good friend of mine. We talk online regularly about KO things. I know that he is deep in the tank on KO. He has a lot of his own opinions on the hero. They generally differ from my opinions, but super solid KO player, very fleshed out thoughts on the hero. while he and I may differ on a few card choices or on a few sideboard decisions, I know that all of his decisions are informed by experience. They are all well thought out. Nothing is done just spur of the moment, willy-nilly. So where we do differ, there is a reason. Our lived experiences are different, but we are both presenting what we consider to be the best game plan. This was a loss for me, and ultimately the loss that knocked me out of top 8 contention. I won the die roll, choose to go second. Honestly, played very well up until the point where I lost the game. I ended up on the back foot. My opening hand had a cast bones in it. I made the choice to block with the cast bones, and I do think this ended up paying off. Tommy sent Bear Fangs for 8 on his turn 1. I could have blocked differently to keep cast bones in hand. The problem is I've found that keeping cast bones on turn 0 to try and play it on turn 1 will usually put you in danger of discarding it to a Wild Ride or a Pulping or a Bear Fangs. That there are very few draws in our deck that let us just send good damage and arsenal a cast bones, or let us have go again and then play cast bones. We were really looking for E-Strike or swing big, and anything outside of that is going to discard our cast bones, or at least risk discarding our cast bones, and that was what I ended up drawing into. Had I kept the cast bones, my hand would have looked like cast bones, blue, pulping, beast within. It's like, okay, well, what do I do with this? In that case, the line is probably pitch blue, send beast within, arsenal cast bones, and now I'm sitting on a pulping, and I've taken an intellect penalty. It is really a situation that I think we should be blocking with cast bones, which is what I did, but it does feel bad, as in round 1, to be blocking with one of my power cards. Tommy gets a really solid 3-link Blood Rush Bellow. I did not get a really solid Blood Rush Bellow. I didn't get any Blood Rush Bellow, but I am clawing my way back into this game. Tommy has used his flesh back. I'm still sitting on mine, and I put myself into a position where I'm maybe 5 or 6 life points down. I'm sitting below 10 life. Tommy's at a solid 15, and I have a blue and a pulping in my hand. I have a Bear Fangs and Arsenal, and my tunic is on 3. So I put myself into this position to pulping Bear Fangs, present 14 damage, make a might token, and it all depends on pulping just discarding an attack off the top of my deck, and instead pulping discards Blood Rush Bellow. So pulping for 8, 1 floating, Blood Rush Bellow is the draw discard. So yes, pulping does have go again, and Tommy is even talking about the potential to just block with a card, take 5, keep a 3-card hand, and try to crack back and kill me. And the whole time I'm like, yes. Because he's thinking this is Pulping Claw, and I'm like, no. But he does block, takes go again away from Pulping, and I honestly stay alive for much longer than I thought I would, and I do put Tommy to 2. My deck does not have Reckless Swing in it, so I am just relying on Tommy to brick or draw a hand that doesn't block, and it wasn't meant to be. I do get killed. So that pulping discard cost me 9 points of value. I was able to play that Bear Fangs later, but had I played it on the pulping turn, I would have had a free arsenal. I could maybe arsenal a different attack. There was certainly a line where I could have arsenaled the pulping that very likely gets the win. Taking extra cards away from Tommy either that turn or on a later turn would let me play a Blood Rush Bellow that I ended up having to block with because I was too low on life to keep the 3 cards necessary to play it. It is Brute Life. That is the risk we take. Registering Kayo or Leviah or even Rhinar at times for an event like this. Sometimes you are just going to draw a discard your non-attacks. You are going to miss. I felt very good about this game, though. I felt like I piloted my deck the way that I needed to, and it didn't cooperate, which sucks. I'm disappointed that I lost that game, but I did everything I could to pilot the deck well and mitigate risk. Being 3-2 puts me into the final round against a Dromai player that I'm friends with, I know very well, but based on where I'm sitting at table 2, I know that I'm out of top 8 contention. So we play the game, still trying to win, still trying to pick up some elo. This was not a disciplined game of Kayo versus Dromai. As much as I know how this matchup is supposed to look, my deck did not point me in that direction. I have found that for Kayo versus Dromai, you want to play more of a mid-rangey game. You aren't trying to fatigue the Dromai, but you are prioritizing clearing Ashwings more than I thought I would at the start of my Kayo career. Generally, clawing Ashwing, especially when Dromai has burned them all on the field, is a good idea, because you can also pop the Ashwings, you're taking action points away from Dromai, but if you're also clearing Ashwings on the back end, if Dromai is taking her cards to defend rather than to attack and generate Ash, eventually she runs out of dragons, and now Burn Them All is burning through the discard, banishing reds for no benefit. So play more of a mid-range game against Dromai, and this game just really said, face, go face, send claw at face, kill Dromai, and that is the way the game panned out. I just sent a ton of damage at Dromai's face. Eventually, she found Rake the Embers, but at that point, it was just too late. I won the game at 4 life, so I certainly could have done a better job protecting my life total, but my deck just did not give me the signal that that was the play. My deck was giving me a lot of Pulping Claw CNC at Dromai, Pulping Claw Swing Big at Dromai. Don't kill the dragons. Dromai is blocking aggressively. Dromai is not playing other dragons. She's just sitting with 2 Ashwings and not attacking with them. And I said, okay, well, I'm just gonna go face. And that's what I did. It's what I like to call angry KO. I think my deck was responding to the loss that it created, mind you, from round 5. So I win this game. Wrap up Swiss at 4-2. And unfortunately, like I had thought, just not enough to get me there. Did place me 11th. Tommy, my round 5 opponent, ended up at 6th seed. And he had lost his round 6, so he ended 4-2 as well. And yeah, if my pulping does not brick on the draw discard, and especially if my Bear Fangs also doesn't brick, then it's very likely I win that game, and very likely I wind up in the finals as well. Obviously, I can't know that. I can't know that pulping hitting doesn't wins me that game, but it seems very likely. Tommy goes on to get to the finals against my friend and teammate Austin, who is on my exact same KO list. They end up splitting. Austin takes the PTI. Tommy takes the gold foil. The gold foil is Code of Frost. Would I have liked a Code of Frost? Sure. Does it give me a little bit of relief knowing that I did not draw a discard my way away from, $1,500 Mask of the Pouncing Lynx? Sure. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way the event went. I'm definitely disappointed that I didn't top 8. It would have been nice. My record was good enough to have top 8'd had my breakers been different or had I lost later rounds than I did. But I'm still pretty happy with the way the event went. My 2 losses were to a deck that I do not have good reps against and that I know that I am disadvantaged against, and to variants. For the most part, I feel like I piloted the deck very well. And I can look at Austin and see the deck won. This KO deck got first place. And so now I can look at the external factors, variants, gem pairings, possibly my own play, but like I said, I think I played the deck very well, and it largely responded well to that. So, moving into the rest of ProQuest, I will be taking week 2 off. This next Saturday and Sunday is Battlehard in San Francisco. Unfortunately, I can't make it. I would love to be able to go, just logistically it won't work out. All of the NorCal LGSs have wisely postponed their pro quests into weeks 3 and 4 so as not to conflict with Battle Hardened San Francisco. So this next weekend, I'm taking a brief break from competitive Flesh and Blood, preparing for weeks 3 and kind of 4. Week 3, definitely, I'll be bringing the exact same list. I feel great about it. Week 4, I am playing on April 4th. May 4th, excuse me. Armory Deck Kayo drops on May 3rd. So assuming I can get my copy of Armory Deck Kayo, I will have access to Savage Sash and Run Roughshod, and I think my deck changes just a little bit based on that, but enough that I need to get some reps with it. So after ProQuest Week 3, I'll be proxying up and getting my reps and seeing if I can relearn those play patterns with Sash, especially on Blood Rush turns. Feeling pretty confident heading into the rest of ProQuest, really looking to pick up at least one Black Envelope this season. If I get an ELO positive, that would be great too. But at least the great thing about not being able to play in Week 2 is that I will have plenty of time to record Talishar games for all of you. So that is my Week 1 report. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope your ProQuest Week 1 went well. I hope those of you who are interested in going to Amsterdam got your PTIs. I hope those of you who are not interested in going to Amsterdam got your gold foils. And I hope you're all feeling good heading into the rest of ProQuest season. If you are going to San Francisco next weekend, I wish you the best of luck. A lot of my locals are going to be there. I think they're all really well prepared for it. A good number. The top 8 in Vacaville, 4 out of the 8 are people that I play with every week. So feeling great about their chances, and I am wishing them all the best. So I hope you enjoyed this report. I hope maybe you learned something from it. If so, be sure to assault and batter that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. Again, if you have not already done so, please subscribe to my channel. It's free, it helps me out, but no matter what you do, catch me back here tomorrow for your regularly scheduled daily Fab gameplay. And until then, take care.